Good afternoon. It's great to have you here and welcome to the Working Lunch. The Slow Chambers weekly web series or Facebook series where we try to bring back a little bit of that connection that we've certainly been missing during this time and sit down with our local leaders in our community and help connect all of us. Additionally, we hope we all get to learn some new things about people we interact with or have never met before. I'm Jim D'Antona, President and CEO of the Slow Chamber, and today you'll get to be a part of my conversation with Naomi Neilson, founder and CEO of Native Trails, an artisan kitchen and bath company. Starting in 1996, Naomi began to bring the work of undiscovered artisans from central Mexico, first to central California, and then on to living spaces throughout North America. Combining the artisans' age-old traditions with contemporary design and sustainable materials, she broke new ground with Native Trails' iconic copper sinks and helped to introduce copper as a mainstay material for the kitchen and bath industry there. Since then, Native Trails has expanded far beyond copper sinks. Its artisan-made product lines have grown to include concrete, reclaimed wood, glass bathtubs, furniture, and a range of home decor products. Today, I'm so looking forward to our conversation and digging into what life has been like during the pandemic, logistical challenges, and what spurred Native Trails to become a B Corp. If you don't know what that is, you'll learn today. Naomi, thank you so much for being here today.
It's my pleasure. Hi, Jim. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. Lots to talk about. It's been a crazy week, so it's kind of nice just to sit down and take a deep breath, right? It's Friday, it's almost the weekend.
Yeah, that's what we're here. So it's that little time, hopefully a little breath here. So first and foremost, before we get started, where are you zooming in from today?
Today I am at my office at the Native Trails headquarters in San Luis Obispo.
Awesome. Well, let's start. I talked a little bit about your company, but let's take a step back and talk about how you first started up and how you even found your way in central Mexico and what inspired you to work with the artisans.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. So I was really inspired from family trips that I used to go on with my mother, my stepdad, my brother. We would go down to central Mexico where we have a lot of family, and we would spend a lot of time. Well, I would kind of really encourage us to spend a lot of time at the village marketplaces. That was one of my favorite places to go. And I really became inspired by the artisans that I would meet. We'd meet these incredible people who were so talented and that made just really beautiful things. And meeting these people and seeing how really underappreciated they were in their own villages and their home areas. And also just seeing how often their living conditions were very low. And it inspired me to think, what could I do? There are so many people that would just really appreciate and love to see the work of these people. And is there a way that I could work with them and bring things back to a market, expose them to a bigger marketplace and really see their lives kind of change. And so I started doing that I was still at Cal Poly. I was a student at Cal Poly, and every time I had a break from school, I would hop in my van and drive down to Mexico. I would go to villages and search out these artisan villages all over Mexico, search out the best artisans, and it was a big adventure. I'd go on these trips that would last as long as my vacation. So if I had 3 months off, 2.5 months off from school, I'd be down there for probably a couple months of that. If I was on a 2-week break over the holidays, I'd be down there. And I'd fill up my van with artisan goods, bring it back and sell it however I could. And, over time, things evolved.
That's amazing and really interesting. So you are a 20-something traveling through the middle of all the native villages of Mexico, bringing back product and selling it directly?
Yeah, so initially, I would set up booths at festivals, craft fairs. I go to Indian powwows, and all sorts of interesting places, and I would sell direct. And that gave me a little bit of a feel for what people liked and what, kind of where I wanted to go. And then I started reaching out to stores, and I started wholesaling to retailers. Eventually, I realized that I really needed to work with the artisans to come up with designs that were that made more sense for our contemporary life and for the needs of today's marketplace and for what do people really want today. So it evolved from buying folk art to turning their folk art, like using their traditional craft techniques and turning them into more useful products and things that made sense and that were really in demand today. And that's where things really took a turning point, and I was able to really grow and start, selling to museum shops all over the country and designers, and eventually that led to just the evolution of the products that we focused on. We started to go from folk art to home decor, and then it became our focus on kitchen and bath products, which is what we focus on today.
Well, actually, a quick question came out of Facebook, which is a great question I hadn't thought of. What was your major in college?
I was a social sciences major. And so, you might say, well, what does that have to do with this business? But, it really does, because it's anthropology, sociology, geography. So it really, the people, this is what my business is really all about, is about people. And that's what's always fascinated me, is people, traditions, and connections, and how people and regions relate to each other. So that's what my major prepared me for. And then I did a minor in business, a minor in Spanish. Yeah.
That's incredible. So I guess looking back on that time, were there silver linings because you started in such a scrappy kind of hands-on way of doing work that helped you now in the business that you're in?
Yes, definitely. Well, first of all, I'm really glad that I started my business back then when I had so much energy. I had very little need to sleep. So it's a good thing I did it then, before I had kids and, other responsibilities took over, because it was definitely a 24/7 job. I would say a big thing was I started my business with very little working capital. My working capital consisted of a small limit on my credit card and a little bit of money that was leftover funds on my student loans. And really, I had that little bit of cash to work with. And so I made a lot of mistakes because I really had no idea what I was doing when I started out. I learned everything by doing. It's Cal Poly, right? That's what they told us: learn by doing. So I took that to the extreme, and and that's what I did. So I made a lot of mistakes along the way. But the good thing is that, first of all, I had a lot of energy, complete optimism and positivity. I didn't know the meaning of the word fail. It truly was not in my vocabulary. And so I just felt like there was always a way. And then, having started with such a small amount of cash, any mistakes I made were not catastrophic. They might have felt, pretty hard, to lose $1,000 back then it felt almost catastrophic, but being the optimist that I was, I got through it. And if I had started off with, if I had even heard of, angel investors, oh my goodness, thank goodness I didn't know anything about that world, and they didn't know anything about me, because my mistakes would have been a lot more harder to deal with.
It's so interesting thinking about that. Again, at the time, I'm sure they felt catastrophic, but having the ability to make those mistakes and understand and build on them, how has that vision that you started out with kind of evolved into as the company has grown?
I would say it has evolved a lot. Sometimes I go back and go, what was I thinking when I first started? What was I thinking? I wish I could kind of go back in my mind back then. I didn't have a written vision, a 10-year plan, a 20-year plan. I didn't have anything like that, but I definitely think I would have been pretty amazed to see what it's grown to. It was, in the beginning, it was kind of me doing everything. And, I had friends, boyfriends, family, everyone who was around me would get involved in some way. So I did have help, because that was my support system, but it was pretty much all dependent on me. And now I have, you know, more than 50 employees at Native Trails. We've got, hundreds of artisan families that we work with, and the impact is much more than I ever imagined. You know, the artisan families that we started working with back then, there are some families that we've been working with for almost 25 years now. And it's pretty amazing just to see how their lives have changed, and seeing this impact that is just, it's really way beyond what I had imagined. And then, you know, and then we realized that, well, we can do things here in our community too. So we started this program that's been really fun called Community Trails. That's what we call it. It's an internal program that it's an initiative that's centered around employee volunteerism, donations to nonprofits, and basically making an impact in our local community. So that's a way that we can give back on a local level in a way that's meaningful for everyone here at Native Trails as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much. And obviously you just said it's like 25 years worth of work, but it feels like really that the values and vision you started out with, right, was working with these artisans, treating them fairly, getting the prices that they had, has also shown when you became a B Corp. And for folks who are unfamiliar with the term, it's a certification for businesses that meet the highest standards of verified social and environmental performance, public transparency, legal accountability to balance profit and purpose. Was it that initial thought process of what your business would be that drove you to become a B Corp?
Yeah, so we were really excited when we first heard about B Corps a few years back, and because hearing that, it was like, wow, that's who we are. Why aren't we a B Corp? You know, this is what we've always been. And so, you know, B corporations are basically, it's about using business as a force for good. And, you know, when you go back to the very beginning, that's why I started Native Trails. That was really what I cared about. You know, I knew that I had to make a profit so that I could do good things in the world, so that I could make a difference. And that was, and that still is what drives me today. The artisans are the inspiration, and they always will be. And, you know, and like I said, my vision has evolved to realize that we can make a difference in other ways as well. So I think the whole idea of becoming a B corporation, well, first of all, it's a lot of work. It's not easy to get certified. Like, there's a lot that you have to kind of go through to prove that you truly are a good corporate citizen, and that you're, you know, really are, that you have, you know, it's about your workplace, it's about internal policies and things that you have going on, as well as your impact on the outside and supply chain. So it's a lot that they go through to certify. And we realized that it was a great way to kind of formalize our philosophy of giving back and making an impact in a way that we can be held publicly accountable, and for us, more importantly, holding ourselves accountable. Because, you know, as we grow, I mean, you know, you see this happen where companies grow and then they evolve, sometimes not in the best way. And I want to make sure that we evolve and we stay really true to our roots and to what we care about. So becoming a B Corp is a way that we can do that. As we grow, it's kind of just, it's really a part of who we are. You know, we meet about it regularly. What can we do to be better in the environmental part and sustainability? What can we do as far as our employees and our workplace here? How do we need to work with our supply chain this year to, you know, improve their processes? So it's a way of holding ourselves accountable, and it keeps everyone here really inspired, I think.
It's incredible, and it's a brilliant way of ensuring your long-term vision sticks as you grow and change. I think that's so fabulous. And obviously that's one element that makes Native Trails special, but are there some other signature elements in your products, and what do you think kind of differentiates you from, you know, others in the industry?
Yeah, definitely. I would say we're pretty different from other companies in our industry. First of all, you know, our focus is on sustainability, artisan crafted, and beautiful, luxurious products. Our goal is to, really work with artisans to sustain their artisan traditions. We want to make sure that these talents and this way of living, which, it really embodies everything about who they are. We want to make sure that those traditions don't disappear. And so that's a big thing that we always have top of mind. Our products not only have the visual impact, but I think they make people feel connected kind of with humanity. They're handmade, so they have that, everything is one of a kind. They're special. And I think you can see it, you get one of our products in your home and people kind of feel good looking at it, but it goes much further. It goes much beyond that. We kind of, even when things are difficult, I think we have been able to provide sort of a basis of stability for our artisans. And we have such a close relationship with everyone we work with that it goes back the other way. When things are difficult for us, they're there to support us and they're patient with us. But we really have like there's a lot of human connection with our products. Being one of a kind is also very challenging from we're not selling through a gallery, we have 1,400 showrooms throughout the US and Canada, and we have online retailers as well. And all these retailers are selling our products through images and through product displays. So we have to make sure that even though everything is one of a kind and unique, it's not easy to make it consistent enough that whoever picks that product out from the picture is going to be happy with it. We have to make sure that what they get, even though it's going to be slightly different, it has to be close enough. So, where the inconsistencies in every product, we have to make sure that those are desirable and that they are, rather than seen as flawed. So where's that it's a fine line, and that's something that we're always kind of dancing through, is that process of like, okay, what's okay and what variances do we want and which variances are people going to be unhappy about. And, we're working with artisans, and they're amazing, creative people. And that's why we love them. And that's why we are doing what we are doing. And it's also challenging, there's a lot of, I think we all put our heart into what we do. Our artisans do, everyone in Native Trails does. And that's what makes it work. And so we've been able to kind of differentiate ourselves as a company by working with artisans, by taking what they do and kind of putting these products out there on a larger level and bringing them to the marketplace, and still maintaining like the soul that each product has.
Well, that's really the incredible part. And I think the most important part is supporting, obviously, those artisans, so that we don't lose that skill, that intellectual, hands-on approach, and that just go to that mass-produced. But yeah, I can imagine the challenges of trying to keep some consistency would be difficult. I know you recently launched a line of Italian sinks, and obviously you probably started that before or right around the start of the COVID problem. How has COVID really impacted your production and launch?
Yeah, well, we kind of lucked out with that. It was amazing that we were launching this product line. It was our first product line from Italy. I've been working with these artisans based in Murano, Italy, for over a year before the pandemic started. And just before the pandemic hit, we had spent several weeks over there working with them very closely on the first production runs, and which, when you say production run, that sounds so straightforward, but it is not, believe me. I mean, this is like hand-thrown glass that is, everyone is shaped by an artisan individually, creating the shape of these shell-shaped sinks, and these, and the colors on everyone varies, and then there's little bubbles, and then there's this and there's that. I mean, it's not easy, but so we spent a lot of time going through all those details with them. And then we got back from Italy, and then just like a couple weeks later, bam, pandemic. And also Italy was right after China. Italy was all over the news. And we were so worried that people were going to, our Fortune Air containers were already on the way, our first like 3 containers of sinks. So that was amazing, the timing in that regard. But we were so worried that people were going to say, I don't want an Italian sink, this is where that it's going to have the virus on it, but we were very concerned, but fortunately it all worked out really well. Whereas of course they had to shut down in Italy for several months. But you know what, things really slowed down here too. So their slowdown, our slowdown, it kind of worked out okay. We were able to get the word out about the products because we'd had one big trade show, we'd gotten a lot of publicity, and then we ended up doing, so many businesses can relate to this. And individuals, just going to doing everything virtual. So we learned a lot about how we could do business in a virtual way, not only with our artisans that are not local, but with our customers. So we started immediately where we normally would do in-person sales presentations and product information presentations with everyone all over the US and Canada who's selling our products. Our sales reps would go out and meet with them in person. So we rolled into doing all of that virtual immediately, and it was amazing. It really worked out well. And so as soon as the showrooms were back up and open again, everyone was trained and excited about the Murano collection, and amazingly it worked out. I feel like we were very fortunate in that regard, because it could have been a big disaster if the pandemic had been, a month earlier. We wouldn't have been able to go forward.
And so, thinking along those lines, as that pandemic hit, one of the things I think we've seen with some of the other folks we've spent time with on the Working Lunch program have talked about an increase in demand with the home improvement, because you're sitting there looking at your sink now and you're like, that's not going to work anymore, or your rest of your house. Have you seen an increase in demand with that kind of home improvement boom?
Yeah, we really have. It's amazing. It took us by surprise, really. I just a few months ago, I remember it, sitting down going, oh my gosh, all of our customers, we're probably going to have a lot of customers going out of business. We need to, be so careful. We need to be careful not to over order. So let's keep our ordering really tight, because things are going to be very, very difficult for the next year. And it has been difficult in many respects, but sales-wise, it really picked up after those first couple months. I think people spent so much time at home just looking at their bathrooms and looking at their kitchens, like when have we ever spent so much time in our homes? Never. And so this is what people, I think, just started to think about is, I want a beautiful bathroom. I want a beautiful kitchen. I want hammered copper. I want a concrete sink. I want a bathtub that's made out of, it's got 30,000 hammer strikes on nickel coated copper. Like people start wanting just beautiful spaces. And so that's been a real, we feel very grateful because we had a lot of tough conversations with our artisans in the beginning. Everyone was so afraid. And so we had a lot of conversations about how are we going to move forward, and, how are we going to support each other so that we can keep going, because we will get through this. We'll get through this together. It's going to be tight. And then when we ended up being able to continue sending orders to our artisans all around the world, and including our local artisans, it's been, I think everybody just breathed like a huge sigh of relief, because there's a lot of difficulties, we've had a lot of artisans who've lost family members. We've had some very, tragic things in our supply chain, and everyone has dealt with the anxiety and the difficulties. But fortunately, we've been able to kind of keep moving forward.
Well, one of the things, and it's come up here in the Facebook kind of questions, which is interesting, I'd just like to kind of maybe broach the subject with you, is you talked about, having to work with your team on keeping tight ordering. And so your kind of work management structure, kind of being remote and being kind of all over the nation, have you found, did you guys flip to that pretty easily and everybody merge or understand that? Or was there a kind of a slow roll up to everybody figuring it out?
Yeah, we, I think it was, everyone kind of had to figure it out at the same time. You know, the weird thing about this pandemic is, you know, it's a pandemic. So across the world, everyone is feeling it. Everyone is having the same struggles. It did hit different areas, different regions at different times. But I think we all learned that, wow, we can actually do a lot virtually without doing everything in person that we prefer to do in person, that we like to do in person. But I think everyone was able to kind of make that shift fairly easy. It was more challenging with some than others, without a doubt. You know, there are technical challenges for some, but, you know, even with our artisans, I mean, those who weren't super comfortable with the technology part of it, they always have other family members that jump in. You know, they have kids who jump in and teach them how to do a virtual meeting, you know, so it wasn't too bad.
And thinking about your team, you're a B Corp, you've done, you know, built a corporation around the idea. Do you find you have long-term, besides working with artisans on the outside, on your inside, your Native Trails team has stayed around a consistent team under and structure with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think my team here has, you know, has been amazing. I mean, amazing. They have, I mean, I can't believe how fast the changes happen. You know, it was like, you know, day one, all of a sudden, everyone's got their computers and monitors going home, taking them to their home office, and except for operations, you know, our operations, our shipping and receiving department, they all said, you know, we're good. We're good continuing to work. We know that we're needed. And they were all, everybody just, you know, we wore masks from day one, long before it was mandated. And everybody has just really, I think, been amazing. This has really brought our team together probably more than ever. And I feel, I think that, you know, here at Native Trails, I think people know that, like, you know, we care about their livelihood. We care about how they're really doing. And so, you know, my team pretty much, you know, reciprocates that. And so we see just a lot of passion, people who really take ownership of their jobs here. And it's just really gratifying and beautiful to see.
And as we get close to the end here, unfortunately, are there kind of any silver linings or changes that have occurred because of the pandemic that you just hope become permanent, or you will make permanent?
Well, I will say, I hope that our logistics nightmares do end soon, because having like our last shipment sitting at the port of LA for 40 days full of beautiful Murano glass sinks is incredibly painful. So we've learned to roll with the punches, though, and we've learned a tremendous amount of flexibility. We are, you know, celebrating our 25th year in business this year, and that kind of has also inspired a lot of reflection. And aside from learning how, yes, we can do so much virtually that we never imagined. Okay, here's a good one for you. I mean, that's going to really help reduce our carbon footprint, right? Which is a big part of being a B Corporation and being a better environmentally, you know, sustainable company. So there's definitely that. And I think some of that will stick with us. But there's a lot of gratitude, you know. I mean, I think just the reflection regarding our 25 years in business, and the reflection regarding this pandemic, and, you know, what we've lost and what we have. I feel personally very grateful every day for everything that we have, and that we've been able to, you know, come together in the way that we have. So I think that feeling of gratitude is something that will certainly stay with us.
I think that is replicated all throughout. Again, I think I'm grateful that, you know, our community has a fabulous company like Native Trails right here, doing amazing work that's recognized continent-wide, North America and further. So if people want to interact, find out more about Native Trails, how could they do that? What's the best way?
Yeah, absolutely. Our website, nativetrailshome.com. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. We're all out there. Probably Instagram is a great place to see a lot of pretty images of our things.
Incredible. Well, finally, we end our conversation always with the same question. What are you looking forward to this weekend?
Oh, well, this weekend. Okay. No big plans for going very far away, but we do have a drive up Court of Honor for my son's Boy Scout troop. That's probably our big event of the weekend. And then we might take a little cruise up the coast to visit the elephant seals, me and the kids. And that's about it, you know? Yeah. Hopefully enjoying a little rain. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, actually, I was going to say, I hope you can catch that in between maybe some of the showers, but we'll all take that right now, right?
Absolutely.
Well, Naomi, I want to say thank you so much for talking with us and telling us your story, and again, inspiring us to think about how we do work in our corporations, in our business, and being thoughtful about the impacts we're having all around. So thank you for being here today. It was really, really fabulous.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim, for having me. It's been my pleasure.
For all of you that ate lunch with us today, thank you so much. Or if you're viewing this online, we hope to see you next week. We'll be joined by Stephen Kroner, who is the co-founder of Crowbar Distillery. If you have an idea for a future working lunch guest or someone you want to learn more about, send us an email at slowchamber@slowchamber.org. We appreciate you tuning in. You have a wonderful weekend. Stay healthy and safe out there. Bye, everyone.